This is The Process Shot. I'm Michael. I'm stuck in a haunted movie theater, and I've seen The Power of the Dog, a new Western drama from director Jane Campion. It follows Phil Burbank, a rancher whose brother, George, finds himself smitten with Rose, a widow in a small Montana town. The two marry, and with her son Peter, they all move in together under one roof. Phil immediately sets about antagonizing Rose and Peter, whether by mocking their physical appearances or through sheer presence, which leads Rose into alcoholism and pushes Peter into stopping Phil. However, the two end up having a connection rather deeper and more personal than they may have expected. That last bit may make it seem like the movie will explore that in detail, but it doesn't. That's mostly because the film doesn't go into detail about many things, though that's not to say that it's empty of any content. It's more that the power of the dog is very much soaked in subtext and inference, from the time of the day or the year, to character motivations and personality quirks. It makes for a rather quiet film that's able to say a lot with very little explicit exposition, and it's up to the viewer to put brain cells together to figure out new developments, though it does help that the thematic material isn't too overwhelming. The ideas that the film explores are probably the most explicit thing within the film, given how crucial they are to the characters and their stories. Primarily the ideas of loneliness and finding connections with those who have hurt you. The latter comes through most of all through Phil and Peter's relationship, given how Phil spends most of the movie insulting Peter for lacking the qualities he considers to be ideal or masculine. In a sense, the movie is more about the two of them than anybody else, really, given their greater roles and what they thematically represent. At the very least, their performances are probably the strongest of the cast, with the others coming through with a bit less complexity. Not to say that George and Rose don't have any good moments, but their importance is lesser compared to Phil and Peter. In any case, the rest of The Power of the Dog is composed extremely well, given how much it has to convey to the audience in lieu of outright exposition. Editing is very tight, with enough of a flow between shots and scenes that you won't get lost even during more dramatic shifts between times or locations, nor would you get lost trying to follow somebody within a scene between cuts. Cinematography is also a high mark here, with grand shots of natural vistas, highlighting the natural world around our characters, and further emphasizing the difference between Phil, who thrives in nature, primitivism, and ranching, and the others in his family, who prefer modernity, luxuries, and creature comforts. Even the film's music seems to reflect this, mixing simple tunes and more elaborate compositions depending upon the swing of things and the overall tone of scenes. In the end, I think it's fair to say that The Power of the Dog is an excellent film, less of a domestic drama and more of an exploration of the characters, with the external conflict of power in Peter fighting back against Phil being superseded by the internal conflict of the two fighting for their different ways of living. Not to mention the shifting trends of classical masculinity versus newer ideas of what being a man entails. At its heart, it's a story of what it means to have love for others, familial or otherwise, and how what a person does with their capacity for love can come to define who they are to others. Or something like that, I suppose. The Power of the Dog, Jane Campion, 2021. 4.5 stars. I definitely recommend giving it a watch. Anyways, that's it for this review. If you liked it, leave it a like. If you have something to add, leave a comment. As always, subscribe to the channel for more reviews. One last thing, the movie does an excellent job of making New Zealand look like Montana. I wonder why they shot it there. Probably a tax thing.